so much, Olatunde Osunsanmi, for joining the Nerds of Color today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's really, really good to be with you, man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's so great to be with you. I'm a huge Discovery fan. I love the show so much. It means so much to me and so many other people. And just thank you so much again for joining us today.
Of course, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
We're excited to talk about it too. So, I mean, just in general, what has it been like for you to direct and executive produce on a show that's so inclusive and uplifting in its messages?
Oh, I'm in the fourth season, and that's what keeps me going, right? Is being able to work on a show that is a shining light, and it's actually built into its DNA. I mean, it's Star Trek, right? And Star Trek is about all of those things you said. It's about being a shining light, being an inspiration, and and it's about putting good and love into the world, about diversity, about making those things normal and awesome and something to celebrate, as opposed to something to shy away from and be awkward. So yeah, it's been great. That's what keeps me going on the show, is knowing that that is being put into the world.
And on those specific messages and what it deals with, something that critics have noted about Star Trek Discovery is it constantly parallels real life events with its storylines, such as an example, the pandemic with the burn. So, why do you think that is? And what do you think that says about the problems we're facing as a society today?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. The writers, Michelle Paradise and Alex Kurtzman, they are big fans of pulling reality into Star Trek slash science fiction because, as we know, science fiction does an excellent job of mirroring reality, and talking about things in reality without it being too in your face, and being more palpable and allowing it to be exciting too. So it allows wish fulfillment and for us to step outside of ourselves and really enjoy something while also learning something at the same time. So they do it consciously, and it's also in a meta kind of way of looking at it. It's almost like the same types of things in life repeat itself, and somehow um, uh, those themes, because often with movies and with Star Trek, the similar themes are played on over and over again. Themes of connection, themes of this big bad that is out to destroy life, war. It is kind of interesting how those things play over and over again in life and are mirrored in Star Trek in sort of a meta way.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds us to keep on going no matter what the challenges are that we face.
Yeah.
And on the challenges that the Discovery crew is facing this season, how does this new threat of the gravitational anomaly compare to other threats the Discovery crew has faced? And how will it challenge them more this season? Can you say?
Yeah, excellent question, and always hard to talk about what you haven't seen yet, but it's fun too. Yeah, I think this season will challenge our Discovery crew because they will literally go to a place they haven't been before, that Star Trek hasn't explored before. And I think Alex and Michelle came up with an unbelievable location and situation for them to stage the last couple episodes of the season. But it's all building to that. It's all building to a reason for this gravitational anomaly that we haven't seen before. That when they shared it with me at the beginning of the season, got me really excited. Okay, I've done 3 seasons of the show at that point. This is the fourth. What do you guys got now? And I think it's just been it's an excellent build, what you've seen thus far to where we're going to arrive at.
You've just made me so much more excited than I already was for the rest of the season. So well done.
I hope you like it. Cool.
I've been loving it so far, and I'm sure I'll love the rest of it. So I want to actually ask sort of a technical based question, just generally, and I know you've been asked this before, but what has it been like filming the last year and a half, past 2 years with the pandemic? And how do you and the other producers aim to make a safe and supportive set for everyone?
Well, the honest answer to that is it's incredibly stressful. Particularly for when we started, there was no vaccine, and it's like, okay, we love our art and we love what we do, but it's not important enough for anybody to actually get hurt or to die or to take it home and harm somebody else. It's just not. And so we took it incredibly seriously, and it was all about literally, for us as producers, and let me step out of the director role for a second. For us as producers, it was literally life or death. And I know that is like, ooh, but that's literally how you think about it. Fine, the vast majority of people will be fine if they get it, if they get COVID, but there could be that one, or they could be the family member of that one. And so that's what you design all the rules and regulations around. And so it means we shoot slower. It means we have less hours. It means that, when we do last looks on the actors, that costume goes in first, comes out, hair goes in, comes out, makeup goes in last, comes out, because of social distancing. It means Video Village has exploded, and now there's 20 different monitors instead of 3 monitors, right, that I'm looking at, right, because we have social distancing. So it was incredibly stressful, but I'm really proud of how the producers handled it and how CBS handled it, and giving us the money to handle it correctly, and how the cast and crew, even though everyone was initially terrified, soldiered through and all bought into the system, and still were able to deliver something beautiful, and to do it in a way that was as safe as could possibly be.
That's so great to hear. Thank you so much for telling us all that. So back to more of the fun stuff. Still some dire, but not as dire as we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So it seems like with the episodes we've seen so far this season, Michael is being put in the middle between her loyalty to the Federation and the Vulcan society she grew up in, which now includes her mother, now in the future. So what can you tease about how we'll see that further explored this season?
Oh yeah. Well, there's nothing that's harder to deal with than family, right? Family, we love our family, but our family knows us better than anybody else, so they know how to outflank us, and so I think it's really interesting to see that, you know um, Burnham has to sort of use tools maybe she didn't have to use before, um, in order to, one, fight the gravitational anomaly, but two, fight people close to her, in ways that you can't pick up a pistol, excuse me, a phaser. You have to, you can't just barrel your way through it. It takes a little more tact and a little bit more chess, emotional chess. So yeah, it's going to manifest itself in really interesting ways, and I think it's definitely something else to look forward to as well.
And very excited. So on another main character this season with Book, so we have like a really heartbreakingly beautiful and ongoing depiction of grief from Book, played by the great David Ajala.
Mhm.
And I guess, like, why did you all decide to put him through this unimaginable loss of Quajon, his home planet, and his family in the whole process? Like, why? But also, I kind of understand.
Yeah, well, I think what the showrunners were thinking was, again, it's kind of a parallel to what's happening with the pandemic, and when you look at just lives in the United States, I think we crossed 800,000 lives, and so how does that manifest in the Star Trek reality, and does it just go away after the first episode? What is something, or the second episode, no, actually the first episode, what is something that can happen that can linger on in ways that we don't normally do? Normally we don't follow grief that closely on the show and have it be serialized in the way that it is here, and that grief is something that a lot of people are dealing with, and I think they wanted to bring it into Trek and deal with it head on, kind of to similar, to sort of answer a different answer or an additional answer to the question you asked me before. Um, I think it's really important, and it's really important mental health, to talk about that, and to explain that it's something that everybody deals with on some level, and there needs to be a greater understanding and greater awareness about it.
Absolutely. That actually leads perfectly into my next question about another character. So we see in the latest episode that Dr. Culbert still hasn't fully dealt with his trauma of dying and then being resurrected last season. Was it no, sorry, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
um
it's one long season.
yes.
Yeah, it's like
It
one long
feels
movie. Yeah.
one long story, yeah.
Yeah.
um so but like, yeah, he's been burying himself and helping others instead, but he's confronted on that and he realizes he's sort of using that to distract from what he's feeling. So what will his journey be like for the rest of the season? What can you tease about him?
Well, yeah, I think he's still dealing with PTSD, and also the guilt, survivor's guilt, the guilt of having survived, even though many other people have died. Why him? Why was he brought back? Is he good enough? And it's kind of interesting to see how I almost gave it away, big plot point there. It's kind of interesting to see um, how he how his behavior changes as he has to connect with other crew members in different ways as he figures out himself. And it's again, I kudos to Michelle and Alex because to have so many different characters and to write them so rich and with such depth, and to have someone like Wilson who can actualize that and bring it to life in such an interesting and emotional and real and raw way. And then also for me as a director to be able to work with him. Um, and it's like it's almost like cheating for me, right? The script's written and it's amazing. It's there. The actor is amazing. We could walk away on take one, and I've got a wonderful crew to shoot it. So it's a lot of fun because it allows me to be an audience member and just be there and just kind of be watching it, as opposed to always putting out fires.
I always got the impression that for these characters, their actors put so much of themselves into each of them. Like each of their performances feels so sincere. So I don't have this question listed, but can you talk about that sort of process of how they inhabit their characters, and especially this season?
Yeah, it is the let's call it technology of acting is unbelievably complex, and it looks effortless what they do, and that is absolutely correct. Some of these characters are very close to who they are, but some of the other characters are very far. And the TV show is very interesting because it's obviously they have time to build the characters and get to know them over several years as opposed to a movie. But I can say that the best actors all have different ways of getting to awesome performances. But what I really love about this group is they put a lot of time and effort into building each little behavior, each little connection, looking at the script facts, understanding what they're playing, what they're bringing from the previous scene into this scene or previous episode into this episode, and really, really tracking it through in detailed ways. So each scene you see, for instance, Culbert with David Ajala, or excuse me, Wilson with David Ajala in their when they're having their session. That first scene when they're in there is probably like 3-4 hours of work for them to get to where they need to be there, and then they got to shoot it, right? So it's an excellent question. I think something that doesn't get talked about enough out there, just about how even though it looks effortless, how much work actors really put into making it look effortless.
And they all do such an amazing job, like constantly, episode through episode, season through season, throughout. I cannot heap enough praise on Star Trek Discovery. It's one of my all-time favorite shows.
Oh, thank you,
But
thank you.
of course, thank you for all the amazing work you do. And I just have one last question relating to a character. So Saru is now back with Discovery after reuniting with his people on Kaminar and reintegrating Sukal into their society. So I actually want to dig more into what exactly his reasoning was to go back to Discovery, and whether we'll see more of Kaminar and why Saru needs to do there, why he needs to be there. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Saru is just called by duty. He knows that the galaxy needs him. He knows that Starfleet needs him. He knows that Discovery needs him, but most importantly, he knows that Michael Burnham needs him. And what does it say about an individual who can set aside, okay, I was captain, now I'm not, of the ship. I mean, his rank is still captain, of course, but that's not his ship now. It's Burnham's ship. To come back and serve because there's an issue, there's a problem that's greater than him, greater than what he needs, and there's a balance that he's trying to find there. You know, how do you serve and also take care of family? And it's a balance. That's a challenge we all have, right, in our daily lives, and usually it gets more and more complex the older we get. At least that's been my experience, having starting to finally grow up. But yeah, and then through the course of the season, we can see him struggling with that balance and see whether or not he achieves it, and where he lands with it. So I think it's a really important story to tell.
Can't wait to watch it. All right, Olatunde Osunsanmi, thank you so much for joining the Nerds of Color today, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the season for everyone else to watch it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, and a very pleasant conversation.
Thank you so much.
Fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life, comics, movies, and TV. Yeah, pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.